After the famous director Rob Reiner and his wife passed away, the release of his final will shock the public. Instead of bringing peace, it created anger, doubt, and suspicion. The biggest surprise was that Nick Reiner, the son long seen as troubled and unstable, was given most of the estate. Rob and his wife had worried deeply about Nick's future because of his struggles with addiction and mental health. That concern became the reason they left him the largest share. Under California law, anyone who kills a parent cannot inherit their estate. But Nick had been diagnosed with a serious mental disorder. This raised a disturbing question in the public's mind. Could this be a legal loophole that would still allow him to receive the money? People began to ask whether Nick had known about the will ahead of time and whether that knowledge had pushed him to take terrible actions. Meanwhile, the other children, Romy and Jake, hired lawyers to challenge the will. They wanted to block Nick from receiving anything. They also tried to remove the share left to Tracy, the adopted daughter, arguing that she was not related by blood. As the family turned against each other, an old statement Rob Reiner once shared with friends resurfaced: "My children are my lifeblood. I have never loved anyone the way I love them." Now, those words sounded painful and ironic as his children fought fiercely over money. Many wondered if that unconditional love had ever been truly valued, or if it had unknowingly started a brutal war over wealth. According to the story, Rob Reiner's estate was worth nearly $200 million. He had 4 legal children: Nick, Romy, Jake, and Tracy, his adopted daughter from his first marriage. A well-known estate lawyer explained how the Slayer law works. If a person intentionally kills someone they are meant to inherit from, they lose all rights to the estate. If Nick were proven to have acted intentionally, he would receive nothing, and the money would be divided among the remaining siblings. However, the law requires intent. If Nick were found not guilty due to insanity, the law might not apply. In that case, he could still legally inherit the fortune. Public anger grew even stronger when a document believed to be Rob Reiner's final will was leaked online. Written 2 years earlier, it showed a shocking division of assets. According to the document, 70% of the estate went to Nick, about $140 million. This included major film rights in the family's Brentwood mansion. 20% went to Tracy, about $40 million. The remaining 10% was split between Romy and Jake. In the will, Rob left a short message explaining his choice. He wrote that Nick needed more help than the others, and that this was his way of giving his son a chance to rebuild his life. Rob and his wife had watched Nick struggle for years: failed careers, money problems, and even periods of homelessness. Giving him more was not about favoritism, but fear for his future. "I just want Nick to have a chance to get back on the right path," Rob wrote. The will showed a father trying to protect his child, even knowing the risks. But after his death, that same act of love became the center of suspicion, anger, and a heartbreaking family conflict. Rob believed that Jake and Romy had already built stable, independent careers. Because of this, he felt they did not need as large a share as Nick or Tracy. His goal was not to divide the money equally, but to divide it based on real needs, while still being fair in his own way. Rob once told his children, "I know you are grown and can stand on your own, but I want to make sure everyone is taken care of in the way they need most." The Brentwood house left to Nick was more than just property. It was a place filled with family memories, both happy times and painful moments. Rob wanted Nick to keep the house so he could feel connected to family and also have a stable place to live. When Rob Reiner's leaked will became public, it caused massive outrage. Many people could not understand why he would leave 70% of his estate, including valuable film rights and the Brentwood home, to Nick Reiner, a man accused of killing his own parents. This led many to question whether Rob's love and tolerance had somehow played a role in the tragedy. On social media, angry comments flooded in. How could he leave everything to such a troubled child? Many asked. Some pointed out that Jake and Romy had always behaved responsibly, yet received so little. Critics accused Rob of loving Nick too much and protecting him without limits. They argued that this kind of unchecked indulgence can be dangerous. Many people began questioning where parental love should draw the line, especially when giving power and money without strict boundaries. Several psychologists also weighed in, suggesting that Rob's extreme favoritism and his belief that money and assets could save Nick may have unintentionally created a situation where Nick felt untouchable, eventually leading to devastating consequences. The public outrage reflected a painful truth: love, when misdirected, can destroy not only the person receiving it, but the entire family. Many expressed sympathy for Jake and Romy, who were seen as responsible, hardworking siblings pulled into a nightmare they did not create. At the same time, others felt sorrow for Rob himself, a father who loved his children deeply but may have been blinded by that love. One comment on X read, "This proves that love without limits can sometimes be more dangerous than hatred." When Rob Reiner's will was officially announced on the afternoon of December 19, 2025, Jake Reiner was in Houston. At exactly noon, he received an email from the estate office. He read it again and again as his face turned pale. 70% for Nick. Only 5% for him and Romy. "This can't be real," Jake whispered. "Dad promised he would be fair. Nick destroyed everything. And now he gets the inheritance too." Anger took over. Jake slammed his fist on the desk, canceled all his plans, and booked the first flight back to Los Angeles. The moment he landed, Jake went straight to Lyons & Associates, a powerful law firm in downtown Los Angeles, known for handling high-profile Hollywood estates. The firm, led by attorney Teresa A. Lyons, had managed Rob Reiner's family trust for years. Still wearing his travel-worn coat, Jake stormed into the sleek glass building and demanded to be seen immediately. "I'm Jake Reiner," he said sharply to the receptionist. "I need to see Ms. Lyons right now. This is about my father's will." The tension in the office rose instantly. Teresa Lyons, a sharp lawyer with more than 20 years of experience handling inheritance disputes, met Jake in a private conference room. She had expected trouble after the will was announced, but seeing the anger and pain on Jake's face still affected her. "Jake, I understand how much this hurts," she said calmly. "Your father created this will to protect Nick because he feared for his future. But now, with these criminal charges, the Slayer law could change everything." Jake shook his head. His eyes were red with anger. "Ms. Lyons, I don't care about Dad's reasons anymore. Nick killed them. I want back what belongs to me and Romy. We deserve more than this." Without hesitation, Jake signed an agreement with a private litigation attorney, Mark Geragos, a famous Hollywood lawyer known for handling major celebrity cases. Jake contacted him through a mutual friend, and Geragos agreed to represent Jake and Romy in a civil lawsuit challenging the will. "Our strategy is simple," Geragos said. "We will argue that the will is unreasonable because it failed to account for Nick's actions. We will also ask the court to immediately apply the Slayer law and freeze Nick's share." The next morning, Jake and Romy attended their first meeting with Geragos. They sat close together, holding hands, surrounded by stacks of legal documents. As they talked about their parents, memories surfaced, both loving and painful. Their anger was not only about money. It was about feeling abandoned. They had built their lives on their own, worked hard without relying on family wealth, and now felt punished for their independence. They sat at a large wooden table with Geragos and Teresa Lyons beside them. The atmosphere was heavy. The will lay in the center of the table, almost like another piece of evidence. Romy stared at the page showing 70% going to Nick, her hands shaking. "Why would Dad do this?" she whispered. "Nick destroyed everything. Now he wants to take all of Mom and Dad's money too." Jake nodded angrily. I don't understand it either. Dad worried about Nick's addiction and unemployment, but $140 million and the Brentwood house. That was our home, and we're left with only 5% each. Romy wiped her tears, her voice rising. And Tracy, she's adopted from Dad's first marriage. She isn't Mom Michelle's biological child. Yet she gets 20%, $40 million. Why does she get more than us, the children Mom and Dad raised together? Jake squeezed his sister's hand. I feel the same. Tracy has her own family and career. She doesn't need this. Mom and Dad were proud that I worked in journalism and that you pursued art without asking for money. This will feels like Dad punished us for being independent while rewarding Nick. And an outsider. Geragos stepped in, calm but direct. If Nick is convicted, the Slayer law will remove him and his share will be redistributed. But Tracy is a legally adopted child. Under California law, she has the same rights as a biological child. Challenging her share would require proving undue influence or that your father was not mentally capable when he wrote the will. That is extremely difficult. Romy shook her head firmly. No, we stand together. Not $1 should go to Nick or to Tracy. She is not biologically related to Mom. This estate should belong to the true biological children, you and me. Jake agreed immediately. Exactly. We'll sue to invalidate most of the will, or at least freeze everything until the criminal case is finished. We can't let outsiders profit from this pain. But the inheritance battle was far from over. Just as tensions reached their peak, a new move changed everything. After learning that her younger siblings were challenging the estate, Tracy Reiner acted quickly. She hired her own legal team to protect the 20% left to her. Tracy argued that she had long been a stabilizing force in the family, supporting her parents and holding the siblings together, and that taking away her share would be deeply unfair. She retained a powerful Hollywood inheritance attorney, David O. Carter, who immediately sent a formal warning letter to Geragos. The letter stated that Tracy would countersue if her share was challenged and demanded that the court uphold the will exactly as written, except for Nick's portion. With that, the family conflict entered a new and even more dangerous phase. Tracy's legal team made their position very clear. Tracy has equal legal rights, and any attempt to remove her from the will would be strongly opposed. With that statement, the legal fight inside the Reiner family quickly intensified. Law offices turned into nonstop centers of meetings, paperwork, and legal planning. Every move was closely followed by the public. Most people supported Romy and Jake, sympathizing with their desire for fairness and their wish to protect what they believed was their family's true legacy. Many observers said that if Rob Reiner and Michelle were still alive, they would be heartbroken to see their children fighting over money instead of protecting the bond they had spent a lifetime building. Rob and Michelle dedicated their lives to their children, from raising them to guiding them through every stage of growth. They were always present. Friends of the family shared that despite Rob's busy Hollywood career, he always made time for his children and showed deep concern for their lives. He helped choose schools, gave career advice, and spent long nights talking about future plans. Rob often reminded them gently, "Your parents will always be here to listen and help whenever you need us." The children later admitted that their parents' love was shown not just through words, but through actions. Rob and Michelle stood by their children during difficult times, especially Nick, who struggled for years with addiction and instability. They even worked alongside Nick on the project Being Charlie, hoping it would help reconnect with him and encourage self-reflection. Romy once told friends, "Our parents never abandoned us, no matter what happened." Jake and Romy also described Rob as a father who stayed close to them like a companion, not a distant authority. He showed patience and compassion to each child, making sure no one felt left behind, even during the hardest moments. Family friends said Rob always put family above everything else. He wanted his children to feel protected and loved at every stage of life. Even Tracy, despite the tension surrounding the inheritance, admitted that this conflict went against the values their parents had taught them. Rob often told his children, "Family comes first. Always support one another. Don't let money destroy your relationships." Those words now echoed painfully during tense legal meetings, reminding everyone that their parents never intended for the will to cause division. As the legal battle continued, many people waited for a final verdict in Nick Reiner's case. One thing, however, stood out. Nick appeared unusually confident under intense public pressure. Despite facing extremely serious criminal charges, Nick seemed focused and determined in preparing his defense. He hired Alan Jackson, one of Los Angeles' most famous criminal defense attorneys, known for representing high-profile figures in major cases. This decision was widely seen as a calculated move, with legal fees reportedly exceeding $2,000 per hour and total costs possibly reaching millions. Many questioned how Nick, unemployed and with a long history of addiction, could afford such a powerful lawyer. A source close to the case revealed that Nick was placing strong confidence in a mental health-based defense. He believed that proving mental illness could reduce his punishment and possibly protect his inheritance rights, including the 70% share of his parents' estate. Some believe Nick calculated that a confirmed mental illness diagnosis could allow him to legally retain everything: film copyrights, wealth, and the Brentwood home. This raised disturbing questions in the public mind. Was the tragedy the result of a cold, planned attempt to claim the inheritance, or was it the tragic outcome of addiction and untreated mental illness? As public opinion remains divided, mental health experts suggest that Nick may be both a victim and an aggressor within his own family, caught between personal suffering and devastating consequences. Nick's long struggle with addiction is often seen as a factor that could reduce his responsibility. Still, the killing of his parents raises serious questions about intent and planning. The money used to hire Alan Jackson is believed to have come from trusts or assets Nick could access before the tragedy. If this is true, then even if Nick suffers from mental illness, his actions may have been carefully planned. Some believe he took advantage of a biased will and legal loopholes, turning a family tragedy into what looks like a cold, financially driven plan. This leads to an important question: how large was the fortune Rob Reiner left behind? And what is hidden beneath those massive numbers that pushed the entire family into a bitter legal war? Rob Reiner spent his entire life in the spotlight of Hollywood and left behind an estate estimated at around $200 million. This wealth was not just money. It represented decades of hard work, achieved dreams, and personal sacrifice. He first became famous as Mathead in the legendary TV series All in the Family, earning 2 Emmy Awards. But his greatest success came later as a director and producer. In 1987, he co-founded Castle Rock Entertainment, which became a powerful force in Hollywood. Castle Rock produced hugely successful projects such as Seinfeld and classic films like The Shawshank Redemption. When the company was sold to Ted Turner in the early 1990s, Rob Reiner received a major payout that formed the base of his financial empire. Even after stepping back from active work, Reiner continued earning large back-end profits from his films. This allowed money to flow steadily for many years. Real estate also played a major role in his wealth and was deeply connected to both joy and tragedy in his life. The Brentwood home in Los Angeles, where Rob and Michelle lived for decades, was his most well-known property. Bought in 1991, the large estate included multiple bedrooms, a garden, a pool, and luxury living spaces. Today, its value is estimated between $10 and $20 million, depending on the market. More than just a house, it symbolized stability and success. But it later became the scene of their deaths, turning a place of happiness into a site of deep trauma. Its financial value can no longer be separated from its emotional weight. Beyond Brentwood, Rob Reiner also owned a beachfront home in Malibu Colony, one of the most exclusive areas in California. Valued at around $15 to $20 million, the property was both a luxury retreat and a strong investment. During peak times, it was reportedly rented out for hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. Earlier in his life, Reiner also bought and sold property in Beverly Hills, earning large profits. These quiet real estate deals added steadily to his fortune, brick by brick, strengthening his family's financial foundation. Now, the legal battle among Rob Reiner's children has turned this vast inheritance into a heartbreaking family disaster. What was once held together by parental love has been torn apart by rivalry, resentment, and legal tactics. Every decision, every document, and every word spoken in courtrooms carries pain. Pain that Rob and Michelle likely never wanted for their children. The public watches in shock as family bonds are tested by money and power. Did love and indulgence help create this tragedy? Who truly deserves Rob Reiner's legacy? And can the siblings ever repair their relationship once the legal war ends? These questions remain unanswered, making the Reiner family story both gripping and deeply tragic. What do you think about this legal battle? Who do you believe will win? And can this family still be saved? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to follow the next developments in the tragic Reiner family saga. Every comment and share helps explore the powerful consequences of love, money, and power in a famous family.